A mother weeping in the dock. A child gone forever. A community torn between anger and disbelief. Behind these headlines lies a deeper tragedy. A world where the innocent are silenced and evil often walks free. But we don't have to let it stay that way. If you are someone who believes in standing for the voiceless, for children like Jayden-Lee who can no longer speak for themselves, this is your moment to act. The world is full of evil, but together, we can stop it. By watching, subscribing, and sharing these stories, you join a community committed to uncovering the truth and demanding justice. Today, we take you inside the courtroom, where the case of Tiffany Meek and the death of her son Jayden-Lee unfolds with haunting details. Was she a mother seeking justice, or is there a darker truth hidden beneath her tears? Stay with us. Inside the Roodepoort Magistrate's court on the morning of July 14, 2025, the air was heavy with tension. Journalists adjusted their cameras, pens hovered above notepads, and the quiet hum of whispered conversations from community members filled the public gallery. Seated in the dock, Tiffany Meek, 31, clutched a tissue in trembling hands. Her eyes, red from tears, scanned the courtroom as she struggled to hold herself together. Once a mother searching for her missing child, she now sat alone, accused, and under the piercing gaze of a community seeking answers. The charges read out were grave. The murder of her 11-year-old son, Jayden-Lee Meek, defeating the ends of justice. Criminal injuria and obstructing the course of justice. Each word struck the air like a hammer, drawing audible sighs and muffled gasps from the gallery. The state firmly opposed her bail, arguing the severity of the charges and the seriousness of the allegations. A hush fell over the courtroom as legal representatives shuffled papers, preparing for the arguments that would decide whether Tiffany would wait for her trial behind bars or under the wary watch of a community already shaken to its core. In that moment, the courtroom was more than just wood and stone. It was the battleground where justice for Jayden-Lee would be sought, and where the truth, buried under layers of grief and suspicion, would begin to unfold. From the wooden dock, Tiffany Meek's affidavit was read into the court record, her voice now carried not by her lips, but by the solemn cadence of legal procedure. She claimed she had done everything a mother could when Jayden-Lee failed to return home. She told the court how she called family, how they contacted the transport driver, and how she and her family scoured their complex, questioning neighbors and pleading for help, as the hours turned to a dark, sleepless night. She recounted how she reported Jayden-Lee missing that same evening, only to be told by the police that she would have to wait 24 to 48 hours before a case could be opened. She described how officers refused to search nearby units, citing the late hour and the need for a warrant. In that affidavit, Tiffany claimed the delays and failures of the police investigation may have cost her son his life, and as her words echoed in the courtroom, the tension thickened. She firmly stated her innocence, asserting that she had no part in Jayden-Lee's death, and that she would plead not guilty when her trial commenced. She told the court she had cooperated fully, that she wanted justice for her son, and that she was prepared to clear her name. Tiffany spoke of her role as the sole breadwinner, supporting her mother and brother after Jayden-Lee's death, and explained that her continued incarceration would plunge her family into financial ruin. She also expressed her intention to appoint a private investigator, telling the court she no longer trusted the state's investigation into her son's death. With every line of her affidavit, Tiffany Meek painted herself not as a suspect, but as a grieving mother, fighting to find answers in a system she believed had failed her and her child. Outside the Roodepoort Magistrate's court, the air was thick with whispers of betrayal and anger. In Fleurhof, neighbors remembered Tiffany Meek not as a suspect, but as the mother who knocked on doors, calling out Jayden-Lee's name into the cold night, begging anyone to have seen him. She was there, they said, standing beside community volunteers and CPF members, her face streaked with tears, refusing to rest while her son was missing. They remember her lighting candles with them, praying that Jayden-Lee would come home safely. But when the police returned with handcuffs weeks later, everything changed. The grieving mother, they believed, had turned suspect, and the community felt betrayed. The same hands that had helped them search were now accused of taking the very life they sought to save. Voices rose in anger across Fleurhof, calling for justice for Jayden-Lee, demanding answers they felt Tiffany alone could give. Vigils turned to protests, and the sorrow that had once united the community began to fracture into suspicion and rage. Yet inside the courtroom, Tiffany Meek saw things differently. In her affidavit, she described the backlash as fueled by personal vendettas, neighbors twisting grief into opportunity, using her tragedy to serve their own interests. She claimed that the same people who now pointed fingers were the ones who once offered her comfort, and she believed their change of heart came not from evidence, but from whispered rumors and fear. As the hearing unfolded, Fleurhof's heartbreak and Tiffany's proclaimed innocence collided in the charged silence of the courtroom, a mother's cries for justice clashing with a community's demand for accountability. As Tiffany Meek sat in the dock, tears drying on her face, the state laid out its position with quiet but firm resolve. This was not just another case, prosecutors said. It echoed the haunting tragedy of Josh Smith, the 6-year-old from Saldanha Bay, whose mother, Kelly Smith, was convicted for his disappearance and death. The comparison was deliberate, a reminder to the court and the nation that child victims demand justice, even when the accused is their own parent. Tiffany faced charges that could alter her life forever: the murder of her 11-year-old son, Jayden-Lee, defeating the ends of justice, criminal injuria, and obstructing justice. Each count carried weight, but it was the murder charge that cast the heaviest shadow. A child under 18, a mother as the accused, and the possibility of a life sentence if convicted. This was a Schedule 5 bail application, complex, demanding, and stacked with legal nuance. The burden lay with Tiffany to prove that her release would not undermine the interests of justice, that she would not flee, would not interfere with witnesses, and would return to face trial, however difficult the road ahead. In her affidavit, Tiffany emphasized that she did not pose a threat to the Fleurhof community. She promised she would stand her trial, that she would not run, and that she was ready to clear her name in court. She stated firmly that her release would not endanger anyone, reminding the court that she had lived in the community for years, worked diligently, and was known to neighbors. She offered to relocate to her father's home in KwaZulu-Natal if needed, underscoring her willingness to comply with any bail conditions imposed. As the prosecutor concluded, the courtroom felt suspended between two worlds: the grief of a community demanding justice for a lost child, and a mother insisting she was wrongly accused, determined to fight for her freedom and her name. After hours of arguments, tense silences, and the reading of Tiffany Meek's lengthy affidavit, the court called for an adjournment. The state needed time to review Tiffany's claims in detail, to prepare its response, and to consider the path forward in a case that has ignited a community and unsettled a nation. Outside the courtroom, the tension was palpable. Journalists packed up their cameras as activists and neighbors whispered among themselves, eyes shifting from the cold courtroom doors to Tiffany's legal team, searching for answers. A single, unavoidable question hangs in the air. Is Tiffany Meek a grieving mother, wrongfully accused by a system eager for a conviction? Or did the system finally catch up with her, uncovering a dark truth hidden behind tears and pleas of innocence? The Fleurhof community is divided. Some see betrayal in Tiffany's tear-streaked face, unable to reconcile the mother who searched for her son with the suspect now in the dock. Others remain cautiously sympathetic, believing that the real story has yet to surface. Meanwhile, Jayden-Lee's absence is a wound that will not close, and his family's grief sits heavy on every hearing, every whispered conversation, every headline. Ahead lies a legal battle that will test the limits of justice, a family's endurance, and a community's faith in the truth. As the courtroom empties, the story is far from over, and the world is left to wait for the day when the truth will finally stand in the light.